Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout's editor Neale, who will be revealing his latest FPL draft and chatting about the latest pre-season developments that are influencing his thoughts. So hi Neale, how are you?
Not bad, Joe. Yeah, been a long time since our last team video back in May. Team news video.
Yeah.
You said latest draft in the intro there. This is very much the first draft hastily cobbled together last night.
Okay.
I
Wow.
need this. I need this kick up the backside. I've always needed this. But like when I was at school, I needed a bit of a discipline to get going and get cracking with something instead of leaving it at the last moment. So I actually quite enjoyed putting this together,
Oh, good.
and I think I've got something close to what I'll have come game week one.
Okay, yeah, I suppose being the editor of Fantasy Football Scout, you are overseeing and writing lots of articles about it. So it leaves little time for your own thoughts for your own team. But I guess all that information's come into your thoughts.
It's all seeping in like all the time. But then to actually sit down and do a team, and it's the last thing I do. On a week to week basis, like on a normal week. It's usually Friday night, Saturday morning, and it's often an afterthought after all that editorial content. But hopefully not this season.
Okay, so you are opting for a strategy of a bench boost in game week 2, so we'll have a look at that team in a minute. And there are lots to chat about around that. Before we do that, just a reminder, do press that like button, does help us out. And do remember to subscribe wherever you receive your podcast, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Loads of content ahead of game week 1 and each week as well throughout the season. Do check out latest membership offers as well. A lot of the stuff we talk about is from the membership area there. You can get access to it too. Also, they've got a new fancy rate your draft function where you can just upload a picture of your team and it tells you how fabulous or not so fabulous it is. So do check out, and we've got a membership offer as well. One at the moment, I think, is it £50 for the season? It's certainly money off this season.
I believe it is.
Yes,
I believe it is. Yes,
and so you get many months off there, so it's pretty cheap there, and access to all those tools and gadgets. Okay, without further ado, let's have a look at your new draft. So I'll put it up on the screen. Your first draft, I should say, after it's been hastily cobbled together. So, but you say hastily, so you've been writing lots of articles. You know about the players, you know about the teams, you know about the fixtures, you know about the different strategies as well. You've gone for a bench boost to emptying game week 1 with a 3-4-3. With obviously a bench with game week 2 in mind. So yeah, for the benefit of the audio listeners, do you want to just read through the team and then sort of go back and describe why you picked them each one?
sure thing. Yeah. So the goalkeepers, it's a 4.5 million pairing, thanks to the absence of any 4 million starters. So that's Kinski and Rushworth of Coventry. The back five, I've got 2 4 million defenders there, but the starters are currently Mosquera, this is going to give me trouble all season. Maharamovic and Maguire. And then my 2 4 millions are very much placeholders at the moment. I'll discuss them more in a second. O'Neill and Thomas. In the midfield, we've got a starting 4 of Szoboszlai, Fernandez, that's Bruno Fernandes, Umbermo and Enzo Lefebvre. And then Norgard is my 5th midfielder after he's moved to Everton. And then up top, we've got a very template Pedro, Calvert-Lewin and Haaland.
Okay, I believe the Leeds fans are starting to call him Muha. We can go with that. Muharremivovich, to use his full name and probably butchering it, but there we go. Okay, so first things first, lots to discuss here. One of the things is that when I've done these videos for a number of years with you, when you do sort of a first draft or a new draft, and one of the things I've noticed that you like to do is to keep as little money on the bench as possible, put as much as you can into the team. Now we've got, it's like last couple of seasons, we have to use a bench boost first, and an early bench boost, 1 or 2, is looking popular. So that sort of changes that slightly. So yeah, but I noticed it. I mean, you still managed to use some cut price options here. So is that strategy still in mind, and you've found a way to do that and bench boost?
Yeah, exactly that. I think up until we get to around about December, I think you see rotation at a bit of a minimum. Yes, we've got more teams in Europe than we've ever had in the Premier League these days. But you're still probably only requiring one or maybe two playing subs at worst on a week-to-week basis. It gets different when you get to December and there's some proper rotation. But with the advent of 5 substitutes and things like that, and even if your player's bench, there's a good chance they're going to come on anyway. So it's not often you get to actually use your subs. The counter argument to that is that if you ever get an injury, that's just short term.
Yeah.
You don't want to sell that player. You need to have a sub playing. But these are playing substitutes. I will say that.
Yeah.
And so as you say, that bench boost game week 2, it could be game week 1. There's still plenty of thought to be had there. But I do like the idea of getting it out of the way. Traditionally, I'm a chip hoarder. I like to save. I like that dopamine rush when no one else has got it.
Yeah.
But with a bench boost, I like the idea of getting it out of the way and then just funneling as much money into that 11, because we probably will be wildcarding early, a lot of us. So bench boost before the wild card, strip that second 4.5 million goalkeeper back to a 4 million even, and reassess the 4 million defenders at that point. But yeah, that's the idea. Bench boost, but with a cheap bench.
Yeah, I mean, this season's so different. We've got the World Cup. We've got such a high turnover of managers, real high turnover of personnel as well in teams. Players last team, arguably teams needed a bit of a refresh, so new strikers here and there, things like that have changed. And also, it's just you've got Europe as well. You've got my team Brighton. You've got Sunderland, Bournemouth. These teams shouldn't be in Europe, but they are. So you've got a whole bunch of consideration there. So Brighton have for example, have a conference, European Conference League in Norway tie. So the first tie there, and that's 3 days before they play Aston Villa in the league. So suddenly we've got these things to consider, which we shouldn't all be doing. I totally agree with you with the bench boost. I'm going for a bench boost 1. I did initially have a bench boost 2, but then I realised I was relying a little bit too much on Coventry. Looking at your team, though, obviously you realise that you probably had that thought as well, because you could get Van Awick, Thomas, Rushworth, or maybe Wright up front as well.
Grimes midfield, possibly.
Onyeka, I think, may have some DEFCON possibility in the midfield, that type of thing. But I just thought I don't really know Coventry. I don't even know. I mean, I'm assuming they'll beat Hull in 2, but maybe not. And then I just sort of switched. But you've sort of got around that. I mean, you've just got Thomas, and you've gone for these other players. So yeah.
Yeah, this is a good time to discuss the cheap options on my side, actually. So I do think Hull. I could be wrong, and Hull are in a state of flux at the moment. They are linked with players right, left, and centre. Even though our chairman puts out a regular transfer bulletin on social media, listing where they're at. I think I might be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, because I've got a lot of soft spot for Hull. I spent some time there when I was younger. I think Hull at home is the fixture this season by what I've seen. The data in the Championship was appalling. I mean, they had the 23rd worst XGC. Of course, they're bringing in new players. Of course, it's going to be a completely different lineup. But I think Coventry seem a lot more settled. They're attracting, I think, a better quality, a caliber of player. And I think the last season they drew 0-0, I think, both with Hull. So I think that is the time to play Hull when they're still in a state of upheaval. They're bringing new players in. They've got a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
So that was me thinking. And I think the alternative of game week 1, so your 4 million defenders are obviously Coventry's off the table because they play Arsenal. Hull's off the table because they play Bayern United. And then Ipswich, you've got Sunderland, which is not bad. But I think Sunderland we saw last season how competent a team they are. They're really settled. They've not signed anybody, basically, signed one player. And I think whilst Ipswich will put up a fight, I think there aren't as many good 4 million options in game week 1 as there are on game week 2. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no. So I mean, one of the changes there. So for example, a bench boost 1 would have. So I've got an Ipswich defender. I've gone for O'Shea because he's the captain. I know he'll start, but he's been playing. I think you've been probably watching this much more. He's been playing at right back. But
the last friendly, yes,
he's a centre back. So I'm hoping for a bit of centre back DEFCON action.
Yeah. They've signed Diop, which is the complicating factor, because last season I think O'Shea it was mostly O'Shea and Greaves, although they did chop and change a little bit. But they've signed Diop, and how do you incorporate all three? Because Diop and O'Shea are the sort of kind of right-sided pair. So what O'Neill did last weekend was, as you said there, O'Shea at right back, Diop and Greaves in the centre, and then Davis, bombing down that flank.
Yeah.
More like a lopsided back four, really. So that might still happen. The final final pre-season lineup this weekend will be a good tell, I think, as to what's going to happen in game week 1.
Okay. So,
a bit of uncertainty there.
So who would you? I mean, you could still go for an Ipswich option, even though they've got a much tougher game in game week 2. But nevertheless, so who would be the best Ipswich 4 million then? Do you think?
I don't until I see that final final pre-season lineup. I think the centre halves are a bit in a state of flux. Davis is obviously at the moment. Davis is nailed, I think, at left back.
Okay, so maybe he's the one.
I prefer. Yeah, so I prefer Defcons. I'm all about the Defcons with 4 million defenders.
Yeah.
But where there's uncertainty, I think Davis is the most secure at the moment, and he does offer. He scored a brace at the weekend. He scored 2 goals for Ipswich at the weekend. He's on set pieces. It didn't amount to much last time he came up. He was a bit of a flop. He was. Even though he created all these chances. He was one of the top defenders for creating chances, but it amounted to just 2 assists. So at the moment, Davis, but when we see that final friendly lineup this weekend, I think that'll give us a big tell.
Okay, so you've gone for Thomas as well. Another thing that put me off was that Thomas didn't start in the last friendly. Obviously, that was a friendly there, but all the speculation was that Amenda is the new guy coming, the Swiss centre back, and that he would replace Kitching. Is it?
Kitching, yeah.
And so it would be Thomas and Amenda, but then Amenda went off at halftime and Thomas came on. The Kitchen stayed on. So what? I mean, once again, we'll get more information this weekend. But what do you make of that? Because that gave me the willies.
It's almost exactly the same as Ipswich. You got 3 centre halves, 2 spots.
Yeah.
That was the consensus that Amenda would come in and take Kitchen's spot. But Kitchen is, I think, the sole left footer. He's like the most suited to that left side. Whereas Amenda and Kitchen, I think, are both right sided. So that's why I think I said at the intro, Thomas is at the moment a Coventry 4 million defender placeholder until I see that there's a Friday friendly.
Okay.
That Coventry are playing. So that should give us a tell. Again, it might be the case that the fullback is the Dutch guy Van Ewig is the most nailed, even though I much prefer centre half with all those Defcons.
Yeah.
So it might end up being that. But at the moment, that should just say 4 million Coventry defender rather than Thomas. Yeah, okay, I hope it's Thomas.
So far in our chat, the headline is: we all want cheap Defcon centre backs from promoted sides, but we'll end up with fullbacks.
Possibly, yeah.
Who'll get 2 assists all season. But that could be the way forward. Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer them to start. Really.
Yeah.
Especially with a centre back, you need them to start. So if they're not going to. Okay, one of the big differences with Bench Boost 1 and Bench Boost 2. So Bench Boost 2, you can go a little bit more on Sunderland there. You can still have them for a Bench Boost 1 because they've still got a good fixture.
Yeah, Ipswich,
still got a good fixture. But it's more that Brighton assets suddenly come into the face. So I found myself, especially as a Brighton fan, I suddenly found myself switching Lefay out for Gross. Immediately I loved it. And I could, obviously I had for Bruggen as well. And suddenly players like Gomez, for example, come into my thoughts. Especially there might be some injuries on the wings, which might nail him down for that right wing berth there. And then Kadioglu as well. I've seen in a number of teams, and I suddenly looked at that, and especially as a Brighton fan, I just couldn't go back. So that's me, but that's a bias from me as a Brighton fan. But how do you feel about that? Because you're relying a little bit more on Sunderland. You've got Lefay there, and you've got 09, and I said I would say it. Is he Oyar or 09?
Well, 09, yes. 09 is why I've left 0.5 million in the bank, because I think there's a very good chance come game week 1 that he will be Hume, who, again, I don't want. I want a Ballard or an Alderete, but they cost a bit more.
Right.
And really, I only want a Sunderland defender for the first 2 game weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping. So the latest with Sunderland, I wrote the scout notes from their friendly yesterday. And the latest with their defence is that Mukiele and Alderete are going to be on the bench in game week 1, according to Labrida. He says that he thinks they're going to be on the bench in game week 1. They're both injured currently and working their way back. So Luke O'Neill is very likely going to start game week 1 and possibly give it to him. The fact that Mukiele and Alderete could be on the bench in game week 1 would give me the willies enough to put me off O'Neill.
Yeah.
If that changes by next week, so if Alderete and Mukiele are still injured and going to miss the first 2 game weeks or on the bench for the first 2 game weeks, then O'Neill is possibly a very good short-term buy. I only want some of the defenders for the first 2 game weeks, and that's it.
Same with me.
He's going to be a bench warmer. So if I think he's going to start the first 2 game weeks, then that would be great. If not, I've got 0.5 million in the bank. He could become Hume.
Yeah.
I could try and reallocate funds elsewhere to get Ballard, who I'd really want, because Ballard is the DEFCON machine. He's the goal threat from corners. But 5 million for 2 weeks, it's a big outlay. So that's why Unions there at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I would want Hume as well. I've got Rodon currently, I think, in my draft, but it changes. It's a 4.5 million spot, so it'll be someone. The thing that slightly put him off Hume, yes, he is playing as a right winger. He did sort of finish the season with Sunderland on the right wings, down as a defender. He can be a bit more defensive. The feeling the Sunderland fans all say to me that they are looking for a right winger. It's obvious that they're not going to get one in place ready to go for game week 1 or 2. So Hume does look pretty secured there, but he will be a problem after that. But the other thing, they were saying that he might still do a job in tougher games later, because Hume is a bit more defensive minded, apparently. So that's why they sort of sigh. You would know it being in the northeast, but apparently some Sunderland fans sort of sigh when they see Hume in the scene. They think, "Oh, here we go."
Yes. He's not a fan favourite, but he is a manager favourite.
Right.
I think you saw that till the end of last season, and I think why Labrie likes him is because he does tuck in. So when he's on the right, when he's playing out position on the right wing, he will fill in at right back. There's some nice little combinations we've been doing in pre-season. So Mukiele will get forward from right back, or as it was on Saturday at Mounier.
Yeah.
And then he will fill in. Hume will go back and fill in, or he'll invert into midfield. I think he just likes that versatility. He likes the combinations on the right flank. So I think it's Hume's position to lose at the moment. Obviously, if they go and sign a marquee right winger, then that changes altogether. But they haven't done that yet. Suddenly they've bought sort of 20-25 million pound players, and none of them have really been up to the task.
Yeah, Dingrid's still there.
So I think, and they're trying to offload him. There's Angulo on the left, who hasn't really made the grade yet, and they've gone back to Talby a little bit. So I think, wings, and Lefebvre's now playing centrally as well. He was an option on the wing at one point. I think that is an area where they want to upgrade, but I think Hume's got the shirt for the first 2 games for sure, and that is probably someone who will end up with for a bench boost.
Okay. Those watching and listening will know that I'm focusing on a lot of players that aren't in many teams. So I'm focusing on those ones because, I mean, we could spend 20 minutes talking about Bruno Fernandes being a good option to promoted sides. He got, X number of assists, should be playing more attacking with Tielemans there, won't be forced to go back more. We could talk for ages about that, but that's been said to death on a lot of other podcasts. Szoboszlai on set pieces for Liverpool. I like Wirtz as well. That is a discussion. Brian Mbomo, he's been playing up front there, so he's been talked about. We all know about them. We know about Calvert-Lewin, really good for a lead side that is geared towards getting him goals. João Pedro's underpriced by about $1 million. We know about that. We know about Haaland. I don't even talk about all his goals there. So that's why I was focusing on some of these other ones as well. Norgard, I'm going to mention. I haven't seen him in any teams as well. I've gone for Gomez in that 5 million slot. You've gone for Norgard. So I've once again avoided DEFCON. You've gone put your speedos on and just dive straight into the Norgard DEFCON pool.
I love Norgard. He's historically, so if DEFCON had been around 5 years ago, he'd have been a cult hero already. We didn't see any of that last season because he was a serial bench warmer at Arsenal. He barely got on the pitch. In fact, he was his first start in game week 38 in the league. But if you look at his historic record, so 2024-25, his last season at Brentford, averaged nearly 13 Seabirds per 90 minutes. And would have hit the DEFCON rate in 50% of his starts. Even better going back. The season before that, he got 70% of his starts. Season before, 76% of his starts. So he's gonna, if he plays for a physical team that doesn't maybe have as much possession, which I think is what Everton's going to be, much like Brentford, then he's going to rack up DEFCONs with regularity. There's a slight question mark over his game time, but because they've got Hackney in there, they've got Eric Boonham, who I think they're probably going to try and get rid of. Garner is obviously a fitness problem at the moment. But I think, knowing Moyes, as we do, he absolutely loves a grizzled veteran, much to the Everton fan base's chagrin. So he loved Coleman. He loved last season, Idrissa Gueye, who's gone now, he played him every week. He's about 35, and
Okay.
people were
Yeah.
trying to. He had all these youngsters like Roll, Armstrong, and he
Yeah.
just loves a seasoned veteran, doesn't he? And so
Well,
I think Norgard will be a fixture
yeah.
in that midfield,
Okay.
and if he is,
Yeah.
then I think he will be a brilliant 5 million option.
Okay. Let's call him Muha, the Leeds guy. Why do we think he is? I mean, Leeds defenders are great. Rodon is one of my favourites. Not so much for the DEFCON, but gets him occasionally. But why have you gone for this guy? He's new to Leeds. I mean, what's his pedigree for DEFCON?
Yeah, this is the one I've gone and tried and tested him in the squad, mostly players who were at the same clubs last season. The one exception is Muha,
Mm.
and he is, I think, becoming a bit of a cult figure amongst FPL circles without kicking a competitive ball
Well,
for
because of
Leeds
his
yet.
name.
He's because of his name, because of the fact that he's an absolute unit, and he
Right.
strides forward, and he presses high. He's
Okay.
aggressive with his defensive actions. He averaged, I think, nearly 11 defcons per 90 at Sassuolo last season.
Okay.
Mid-table Serie A team, sort of similar thing with Leeds.
Mm-hmm.
In the World Cup, I think it was up about 17. I think about 17 defcons per
Wow.
90. So he's an absolute beast. He gets forward from set pieces as well. I watched the Leipzig game the weekend, and
Mm.
he was right in the mix. The ball ended up in the net after a
Mm.
bit of
Okay.
calamitous
Yeah.
pinball, and he was right there trying to prod it in. Had 20 shots last
Mm.
season. So I like Leeds' first 5 fixtures. I think they're decent for
Yeah.
both possible clean sheets and also for DEFCON returns as well.
Okay.
And then
Excellent.
all the regulars who were DEFCON merchants last season, Senesi, Lacroix up to 6, Tarkovsky as well. Senesi and Lacroix moved to bigger clubs where we think we won't be as
Yeah.
many DEFCONs. So we're just looking for the next big DEFCON thing at a
Okay.
cheaper rate, and I think he could be it.
Okay. Before I just run it through the Rate My Team computer, Sabozlai v Verts. Now, I've switched over the weekend. I found 0.5 somewhere down the back of the sofa. You have 0.5 down the back of your sofa.
Yes,
So you could make that move. I just suddenly thought Verts a bit higher up. I just thought he might have a bit more about him in terms of attacking threat.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he again saw the Monaco game at the weekend.
Mm.
He's basically playing alongside Isak. He's
Yeah.
so advanced. He got the ball loads. They were looking to find him a lot. I think he had 4 shots, and he wasn't even on
Yeah.
the field for an hour. I am looking at that.
Okay.
That is what I'm looking at. I think if we get wind that Szoboszlai isn't on penalties, and it could be Isak who claims them,
Mm.
then I'd be tempted. I do think sometimes the tortoise does win the hen in FPL a lot. We saw it last season with the DEFCON guys, Anderson,
Mm-hmm.
with Senesi, Tarkovsky at the back. And Szoboszlai, he has that DEFCON potential, especially if he's playing deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But that is possibly, particularly if we're being more aggressive in the first 4 or 5 game weeks with a view to wild card and early, then I think you can go for the more attacking punts. And
Mm.
then the DEFCON guys are the set and forgets over
Yeah.
a longer term.
That's what I'm looking
So
at.
I
Yeah.
am looking at that. That is one possibility, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the theme for a lot of these picks that we talk about in decisions. Okay, I had a look at this through the Rate My Team computer. Now, there's a couple of caveats for that. The algorithms are taking a little while to adjust to Rushworth not being a Brighton player, being in Coventry's #1. Norgard, for example, they're taking a bit of a while. Will he start? Will he? Won't he? And 09 as well. There's an issue there. Will he start? Won't he? So that's why they're quite low. But if we assume they're higher, they're better. It doesn't matter with your first one because they're all on the bench, all of those players there.
Yeah.
And you've got an 89% rating, 55 points. That's really high for that. It's brought. So, for example, I've got a bench boost 1, and that's 71 points. Or is it 70 points? So it's 15 points more, which you would expect as prediction, and it's about 91% good. So it's still good for a single game week. It's really good there. And some of your stars there, Lafay doing well, Szoboszlai, Brian and Bomo. There's no point reading them all out. They will get good points there. But so that's good. That's a plus there. So let's have a look at game week 2. This is when you're bench boosting. You want this to be good. So you're 61 there, but as I said, suddenly the bench boost players come into it. 09 and Norg. It's only Thomas that's expected to get 4 points. They think maybe perhaps some DEFCON there, even if they concede. Norgard, Rushworth, 09 have got nothing. But if you imagine that they get, say, 3 points on average each.
Averaged, yeah.
So that would be 9 plus Thomas. So you're looking at another 12 or so. So you can add that up, and it's going to be, you're looking at expected points probably somewhere around 72 to 74 and that's expected points. If one of them scores or something like that, then it's absolutely huge. And you were captain Bruno Fernandes there, so that proves that that's doing well. As the week goes on, the rate my team could be, all the other algorithms are all going to catch up with all of these players and all these moves, and they'll assess whether they're going to be starting in their minutes and stuff like that. So I would expect that to be more. And I've done for just for fun, game week 3 as well. That's expected points of 50, a bit lower, 82% there. Once again, I've got all of those players, the Rushworth, the Sunderland's and 9. You won't want him anyway by then. Norgard, they're all on the bench. So you haven't had to make any changes. Your Leeds guy is going to get some expected points about Brighton, although I don't know if you checked out Brighton's track record against Leeds. Maybe he won't. Well, it gets some DEFCON. Then we've got, Haaland would get the captaincy there. Lefay's got Brentford. Not great, but it's okay. And yeah, reasonable. It's a reasonable one. So you don't have to make any transfers. Game week 4 comes along, and I haven't done that because that's a big switch, really. You've got a lot of top teams playing each other. Well, I'll put the fixtures up just before we go. So you can see here with game week 4, Manchester United against Man City, you've got a triple up there, and you've got Haaland, so they're all playing each other, not ideal. Arsenal travel to Sunderland could be okay. And looking at Arsenal, Arsenal got that Sunderland game, and it's Chelsea at home to Hull. João Pedro will be playing, could be a good captain shout there. Palmer could be captain. Rodgers could be back and firing. Levi Colwell could be the defender of choice. We don't know. So personally, I penciled in making a couple of Chelsea players in for Manchester United players, and then wildcarding in 6. So 2 questions for you, really. What are your sort of plans around game week 4? Because there is a change. And when do you plan to wildcard? Because some are actually going to wildcard in game week 4.
Yeah. Funnily enough, game week 6 is the loose idea. Although I am someone who has just used it when I needed it in the past. I haven't really got into many seasons really looking at a time when I'm going to play it. And I've probably held it on too long actually in the past. I do think this year, you mentioned it earlier, Joe. We're in a sort of a real state of flux now with Premier League football. I think we've never had as many new managers going at the start of the season. The World Cup, as you say, there is going to affect a lot of game week 1 minutes for assets we will want maybe from game week 3, 4 onwards. City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and there is that fixture swing as well. I am looking at game week. Tom did a really good article on ship strategy on the Scout website, and 6 does look quite appealing because it also follows the international break, that massive 3-week long international break, in which injuries could be picked up. So I am loosely looking at that. Although with rolling transfers, you could hypothetically get to a point of rolling, have 5 and doing a mini wildcard by that point. I suspect I won't get to do that because there's always something that happens in the first month. So yeah, I think game week 6 is looking quite likely at the moment, but that could change.
Okay, and a very final question I forgot to ask about. You've got Mosquera in your team at the moment.
Yes.
I've had Mosquera, Calafiori. I've currently got Ben White. They're all the same price as well. Once again, I'm sure you're probably going to say that the weekend will give us a bit more information about that. But yeah, who you're going to go for an Arsenal defender?
Yes, definitely, at least one.
Yeah, and it's going for that as well. But you feel that currently Mosquera has the slight edge because he'll play.
Yeah, he is the natural successor to Saliba, and that he's right-sided, and that's what happened a lot last season. Despite the wealth of options he had, or the different options he had, Arteta still opted for Mosquera the vast majority of the time when Saliba wasn't there. I think there was one exception, and that was when White and Timber were both fit. So I think he had White right back, Timber centre half. Now how fit Timber is, we haven't seen him in pre-season. White, no, I think he'll be. I think he hasn't played for ages. You can go back to last season. So I think White's going to be right back for foreseeable. And then it just depends on whether Arsenal recruit anybody else. They've been linked with Conce, or somebody else as well, whose name I'm forgetting. So it depends if they sign anyone, because and how bad Saliba's injury is. So if he's out for like till Christmas or something, then they might recruit further. So that is the worry, that they bring in another right-sided centre half, and then Mosquera suddenly fighting. But as things stand, I think I quite like Mosquera's X-Mins. White, again, this is based on whether Timber's fit or not. White's minutes could be good. Calafiori is usually the first choice ahead of Nkapie. And we won't see that much rotation, I think, until after the international break. So to see it through to game week 5, I'm hoping one of those can do the job. Hopefully it's Mosquera, but I'm willing to change. They're all the same price, so
easy.
one of those.
Okay, excellent. Thanks so much for revealing your first draft there. And I'm sure we'll be chatting it again, especially for team news and game one, which is
Yes,
heading soon, not this
I
week,
know.
next week. So we'll find out there. But yeah, until then, Neil, thanks a lot for your time. Take care. See you soon.
Thank you, Joe. Bye bye.